Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go!
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You are listening to the QTP podcast. My name is Brad, and I am with the man who sings the jingles who make my heart tingle. It's my man, Nick. What's going on? We are here.
Oh man. Hey,
there we go.
We'll
a little
edit
bit
that
of
in
delay
post.
there, but
We'll edit that in post. Yeah.
You know, I mean, even the software was so shocked by my intro, it wasn't ready for it.
It wasn't ready for it. The man with the jingles that make my heart tingle. I heard that before it went offline. Appreciate you, man. It's great to be here, and I'll tell you, it has been a really, really fun week for QTB. We just wrapped up our Patreon episode. We'll be talking about a little bit later. But a really fun week for gaming, some interesting stories, and a really fun segment to commemorate the release of Resident Evil 4. Cannot wait for that. But I think the most important thing we have to do here before we get things started is go into our usual segment, Brad, and that's a little bit of what you've been playing. So, I mean, go ahead and tell us, this past week or so, have you been jumping into any interesting games?
You know, I have finally found my way back into the Fortnite grind. The new season's here, mega. I've been enjoying it. They just had St. Patty's Day was last week. They had a whole slew of skins to commemorate the holiday, and I've been picking up some dubs. I'm just telling you. My solo game right now is on point. I'm picking up at least 2-3 wins an evening.
Yeah.
I am in a groove. I've got my rotations down. I've got my loadout set. I know what I'm going for. And yeah, man, when you get in these grooves, it's hard not to want to play Fortnite every night. It's a blast. Epic knows what they're doing. It's the game that keeps on giving, and I enjoy the variety of skins. Pimping out my character and dropping in and having a blast. It's hard not to.
Fortnite is one of the only games that can do that, man, these days for me. Like, I've tried to get into other games that are, live service, but Fortnite just has that. It has that special touch, man. I see so many people that are full time or close to it. Fortnite streamers, like, of course, our resident streamer Kung Fu Penguin, and even some people that I love watching, like Aaron Gray, who actually got to join us for the last QTB Nights episode. That was a blast. I get it. So mostly Fortnite for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been picking up the Switch again. I got the wife to Switch during the holidays, and so we've been just enjoying the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Party Superstars. It's kind of a throwback. I mean, I grew up having all Nintendo systems, all the way back to the original Nintendo, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, N64, and we had a period of time, in our younger days where all it was Mario Party and Mario Kart, and so to be able to, dive into now the more expansive set of backwards compatibility that Nintendo's provided through the expansion pack, that has been such a trip down memory lane that's been amazing to do again. And now diving into those Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games, I mean, they're offering quite a bit now if you get that expansion pack. So that's been a lot of fun, offline with the wife. So
sure.
How about you? What you been playing?
Oh my gosh, dude. A lot of fun streams this week. We've been diving into the duck simulator, which, if you haven't seen it, it is the silly, it's such a simple kind. It's not even a game. I would debate that it's not a game. You literally just have a pool, some ducks drop into it. There's different kinds of ducks. People name the ducks, but we're on week 2 of it, going on week 3 next week. And it is a crowd favorite. Everybody who can't wait to see what the next duck is, to name the ducks. And it is an experience, and it's also super chill. So we're going to be streaming that again on Thursday.
Sounds ducking awesome.
Oh my gosh, he went there. Hold on.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as outside of the streams, I've been diving more into my retro gaming collection and just kind of checking out some of the games. And one game came in that I am really, really enjoying. A fun fact about the Sega Saturn was because the console flopped so quickly. A lot of the games that were arcade ports of existing fighting games didn't make it over to the States, and you had to get a foreign version. Well, my Saturn is set up so I can play imports. And one of the games that really should have made it over was X-Men versus Street Fighter. This game was basically one of the precursors to Marvel versus Capcom. And I mean, Marvel and Street Fighter and you name it, Capcom IPs, they were crossing over left and right. And these games that you can get for the Saturn, man, they are close to arcade perfect. The quality of these games, you got a 6-button controller by default. So, I mean, it's just a ton of fun to play in short bursts. I've been having a blast.
Wait.
Yeah.
Which side are you on? Are you an X-Men or are you Street Fighter? Where do you land, Nick?
You pick a team of 2, okay? And you can cross the streams.
Oh, you cross-pollinate?
So
okay.
typically I'll go like Wolverine, Chun-Li, usually are my 2 go-tos if I'm going to play a little bit of both. But usually I get frustrated with Chun-Li and then just go with Gambit because Gambit's OP.
Oh, really? Okay.
Of course.
I like it. No Guile love for
I need to try Guile. I need to try Guile, but like the classic Street Fighter themes, Street Fighter themes are there. Just a lot of fun, man. I've especially with like my limited gaming time, I just love the explosive action of a fighting game to just jump in and just give it a try. So that's been kind of my week in gaming.
You gotta love that tag team feature too, where you can tag in and out and have them come out. Like that revolutionized the 2D fighting game. Like to be able to do that and have a duo, and you can like, you know, I think do they have it where they can combo up together, or like there's an ability to like work like come in and work together, or I feel like I've seen that before.
A lot of games have that. I think Marvel vs. Capcom 2 did. This one you can tag out, and it's an important feature because like you regain health with the character that you were using if you keep them out for a while. So like you're incentivized to continuously tag in. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. Like they put so much love into arcade games back in those days where like you can see them the hand-drawn frames and then just the beautiful parallax backgrounds. And a lot of the Super Nintendo and Genesis ports, they never quite got the quality. They had to sacrifice in places to make it work. But when we hit the Saturn and the Dreamcast for Sega, they're like, no, give us the game and we'll make it work. So just a blast. And speaking of fun games here, Brad, I'm super excited because we've got a brand new segment here on the show that we are debuting. You know, every now and then we come up with a ridiculous idea, and I said, hey, look, Resident Evil 4 is here, the remake rather, which I think was a GameCube exclusive initially. It's getting rave reviews. Even though I'm not a horror guy, I think we have to get into a little bit of a fun segment, and it is called
Rate That Thing.
Rate That Thing. That's right. We are going to be playing Rate That Evil to commemorate the release of Resident Evil 4. Here is how this is going to work, and we're going to get audience participation as well. Maybe they can kind of sway our votes. We're going to be rating 5 different types of evils here today, Brad, on a scale of 1 through 10. And our categories today are, we have, of course, Resident Evil. We also have Evil Dead, like the entire franchise. We have evil twins. Evil twins, just the generic concept of an evil twin in movies and TV. We have Evel Knievel. You see how this works? And of course, the most evil of all the evils, the Weevil.
I mean, I don't think I've seen a more eclectic, but like on point list. This is incredible.
All the evils are here for you.
Although I do feel like we're missing one evil.
Okay, what's that?
Dr. Evil.
Oh, how did I miss Dr. Evil? You know, man. What would you have given Dr. Evil if he were on this list, Brad?
On a scale of 1 to 10 of pure evil? Like a 3.
I was going to say, like, he's not actually that evil, is he?
I mean, the pinky alone gets 2 points, but after that, and a point for the hairless cat. That's about it. Dude's a softie at heart.
Dude's a softie. That's exactly right. Okay, so we're going to be moving into our first category here. And obviously, the reason why we're doing this segment today is Resident Evil, right? I mean, such a huge storied franchise. It's got, I think, more movie adaptations than any other franchise in gaming. So I guess I'll kick things off here and we'll alternate who goes first. Resident Evil, I'm not a horror guy, but I've seen these games. If I was going to get into a horror series, I would love to play the more action-oriented Resident Evil games. And I mean, you just can't beat in terms of like actual like horror and scariness and evilness. The creatures you're going up against and that uncertainty, the tank controls of the early games that made you're playing against your own controls as much as you were playing against anything on screen.
Right. You're like, I need to turn. Like you're just fighting yourself more than you're fighting the game. 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Agree.
Exactly. So honestly, I mean, just thinking about the impact that the Resident Evil franchise has had on gaming and the way it's influenced survival horror, really in a lot of ways founded, I think, the genre of survival horror as we know it today. I think we have a very strong contender here to start off, Brad. So I'm going to give Resident Evil an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. There you go. Whoops, that's not. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, Brad. So you're up now.
Rookie score. That's a rookie score, Nick. Come on. You didn't even throw in a decimal, okay? That's a rookie score.
I didn't know. I mean, you can add
if you know
decimals,
what I'm referencing, if you know what I'm talking about, that's a rookie score.
You got to pump those numbers up.
I'm more or less with you there, Nick. I think you summarized a lot of the points I was going to make. When I think of a game that offers what you described, Resident Evil is one of the first one that pops in my mind. So I was going to give it an 8.5.
8.5. Let's go. Okay. Oop.
I'm going to throw you a wrinkle. I'm throwing in decimals. I hope I don't mess up your screen.
Yeah, I have to make the font smaller to accommodate your fancy pants score. Yeah, there you go.
Well,
it's okay. I'm not mad.
I don't do anything simple. I think our listeners know that. I always like to throw in a wrinkle once in a while.
All right. So 8 and 8.5 is going to give that a 16.5. Sham saying, I love Resident Evil. Some of my first games growing up. Epic Capture saying, I remember playing the first one on PlayStation. Scared the life out of me. So many jump scares. I mean, that first scene where you're going down that corridor, right? And you haven't encountered anything in the game yet, so you don't know what to expect. And then out of left field, that dog comes crashing through the window, right? It's the first thing that you face. If you didn't pee your pants during that scene, were you paying attention? It's terrifying, man.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so great start here to this. So we got a 16.5 for Resident Evil, but we have many other Evils here left to rate. Our next category is going to be the Evil Dead franchise. Okay, we're talking about a long, I would say maybe longer than Resident Evil as far as these movies have been getting made. New versions of these movies, games as well, have been coming out super recently. So this is also a very appropriate thing. Brad, do you have any? Well, I guess I'll kick things off here for you one more time. Evil Dead. I have to thank Terry, because AKA the Dudist Monk, because he got me into Evil Dead. We had a movie watching night once, and he put on one of the Evil Dead movies. And honestly, man, I was like, wait a second, I'm missing out on something here. Because yeah, it's super graphic and that kind of thing, but it's a lot of fun. Campy horror, Bruce Campbell.
There's a comedic aspect to it. It's not straight horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that definitely adds a different element to that compared to even what we just talked about with Resident Evil.
Yep.
Right? Because Resident Evil had movie remakes or movie versions of the game. There were movies with it as well, and so there's definitely a different aspect to that. With the comedic, it's a horror comedy. Right.
Yeah.
It's not just a horror.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Evil Dead as a franchise, honestly, I mean, it has a cult following. The people that love Evil Dead, they are all in on it. I'm going to have to probably just go right down the middle here with Resident Evil and give it the same score, Brad. I'm going a straight 8. No decimal here. Two in a row for me. No decimal.
See, I from a pure evil standpoint, I'm gonna, because there's that comedic aspect for me, I'm gonna dock it down just a little. I'm going 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
6.5. Yeah, 6.5.
All right. So we have an 8 and a 6.5. That's gonna give Evil Dead here, the franchise, a total score of 14.5, putting Resident Evil here. Oh, what's that?
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, it puts it in a solid second place out of 2. So really last place.
So when I saw this list, this next one was the one that got me excited.
Okay.
The Evil Twin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can you not, when I think of this, it's like when you're in a room alone and you're thinking about who you want to be in life.
Yeah.
You have one of two choices. It's the altruistic choice or the one when you want to be bad. And that's who your evil twin is in the metaverse, the multiverse. It's going to be that it's that opposite person. It's like the personality within you that you hide sometimes because you don't want people to know that you're that person or you have those thoughts. And so this may be something slightly subjective, but man, if you get the right evil twin, that's like the root of evil. I'm going like a solid 9 on this.
Wow.
Because they are your nemesis, right? They are your counterpoint in the existence, right?
Yeah.
So they're meant to be the ultimate backside, the shadow of who you are. And so that has to be high. It has to be a 9.
Solid 9 from Brad. That is a strong one. And I got to tell you, Brad, I was trying to think about all the different evil twins out there. The famous ones in movies and cinematic history. Obviously, The Shining, definitely one of the most iconic evil twin scenarios. Initially, I started to think about it. I'm thinking, well, honestly, like when a TV show, that's been out for a while, like starts to introduce the concept of an evil twin, 2 things are happening. One, they're cheaping out on the budget because now you're getting 2 actors for the price of 1.
For the price of 1.
I promise you they're not making that much more. 2 is they're jumping the shark, right? Like they've reached that point in the show where like they're coming, in order to come up with some kind of original content, they have to get super gimmicky. And so the net result is an evil twin. So initially I was thinking of going kind of low with it, but then I thought of Community and probably the greatest evil twin in the history of evil twins. Yes, I'm talking about Evil Abed. I mean, like just pure
amazing
evil. And like the fun kind of evil.
Exactly. The root. Yeah, it's like the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Totally. That's a perfect example. Yes. Evil Abed, 100%.
Evil
so
Abed.
What's your score?
Okay. So with all that considered, man, I'm gonna go a solid 9 on this too, man. I think we're gonna end up giving this a first place finish so far with a combined total of 18. Love to see it. Okay. Now, the next one. Now, this is more of the subjective side of Rate That Evil. This is going to be Evel Knievel, the one and only Daredevil stuntsman. I mean, this guy has jumped everything that can be jumped. If it's a gap, he's probably sailed over it in a motorcycle with fire and ramps and a really cool cape. I mean, my gosh, did you ever see like any Evel Knievel stunts like at any point, Brad?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they were nationally televised. They were special events. It was like a one-time thing. It's like tune in live or you miss it. Yeah. And so, yeah, totally. I mean, I can recall several events where he was jumping like, I don't know, like, yeah, you said large gaps with huge falls. Like it wasn't like it was just like, oh, if he falls, he hits the ground. It's like over the Grand Canyon. Right? I mean, something ridiculous like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Total. Yes, I'm very aware. And he survived with his cape. As we know from certain movies, the cape ends up being the downfall. So to be able to jump with a cape and live to tell the tale, he's doing something right.
I mean, what a life! Like, I really, you can't undersell it, right? Like, often imitated, but never quite duplicated, right? We have Epic Capture saying, I think of what his loved ones went through, yeah. And Sham saying, I'm sure his parents call him evil for giving them heart attacks. I couldn't imagine being Evel Knievel's parents watching that. Like, you'd have to almost like just not watch it.
Or his wife, because his son also got into it. It ended up being, it's a family affair. Once someone does it, it's not just the one person. The family has bought into that collective hobby, which in this case is putting your life at risk to jump over large areas.
Sure.
and live to tell the tale.
That sums it up, doesn't it? Okay, so Evel Knievel, Brad, I'm going to give a solid 8.5. Oh, hold on that. Yeah, I got to make it a smaller font. See, I wasn't. Where is our prototype Rate That Thing board here? It's a real chalkboard, by the way. What do you give an Evel Knievel, Brad?
Oh man, as much as I love him, it's not really evil. He's just got the evil in the name is kind of like it's a slogan. It's the hook to get you involved.
Okay,
I'm going 4.5. I'm going 4.5. 4.5.
Whoa. After everything you just, I mean, this is the devil's Bradvocate in play. You think you know, and then you throw in a wild card like that, man.
It's not really horror, it's suspense. Yeah. And I don't think suspense registers as high on the scale.
Oh, it's not evil. We're rating that evil. Now this guy gets it. Okay. All right. And the final evil on the board today, Brad. Why don't you introduce our little insect friend here?
The weevil, a beetle with the elongated snout. I mean, man, it looks like an elephant beetle. That's really what it is. So how it got the name Weevil, I don't know, but it is it is quite the looker. I'll tell you that. and
Yeah.
it's
Lots of weevils out
got
there.
a snout for days. You know what I mean? So
It really does.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
it probably knows. It probably smells when you're coming.
I would hope so. With some of these varieties of weevils, man, some of them they almost looks like a mosquito, with the little snout there. Like it's impressive. And what I didn't realize was there's a lot of different varieties of weevils. So weevils are actually beetles that are known for their long snouts, like you said. They are herbivores. There are approximately 97,000 species of weevils, and that is incredible.
What?
Yeah.
Talk about evolution.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're just on we're on the first release. Or I guess not. Maybe we're on the fifth release, right? We go back to, cavemen, and now we're us. But man, 97,000 species.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about if we had that many iterations of humans. I bet we'd be a little bit more advanced than we are today.
Now, since we're rating it based on evil, you might think, well, Nick, you just put the weevil in there because evil's in the name. First of all, yes. Second of all, we got to realize that a weevil, they can do some damage, Brad, okay? Because they damage stored foods, okay? So let's say you got a pantry that the weevils get into. They bore into your foods to lay eggs. This increases the heat and humidity inside the packages they infest, which facilitates the growth of mold and fungus. Weevil infestations take place almost entirely inside packages of stored food. They can be hard to detect and even harder to eradicate. Epic Capture Productions is currently in the chat and says, as a personal victim of weevils, I will give it a 10 out of 10. So much rice and pasta lost. Okay, so let's pour one out there for our good friend Russell, who lost an untold amount of rigatoni to the weevils.
We'll get some rigatoni in the mail. We'll make it happen.
That is evil. So
hey,
okay,
but you know what? That's what we need. We sometimes, and I'm on the fence here. I was kind of teetering here, but then we get that support from our listeners to chime in with their stories to help us really give it the best, most accurate ranking. So, I mean, does that swing your vote at all, Nick? Where are you coming in?
I mean, after hearing Russell's story, it definitely went higher than what I was going to give it initially. I mean, going into your pantry and messing up your stored food products. Nobody wants to, crack open a box of mac and cheese and find weevils in there. Okay, so I think a weevil is pretty evil, Brad. I'm going to give that weevil a 7.5. How about that? What are you going to give that weevil?
I'm hearing you. You're kind of right where I was in my head. So, to me, this is the most realistic of all the evils on the screen, right? Not games,
it's a real
not
evil.
Movies, not Evel Knievel who's riding off in the desert somewhere. Weevils, they're in my food. They're a problem for me, and they're not a good source of protein, so I can't eat them.
Oh,
so
no. You can't eat your weevils.
I'm going 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to give our total there of 14.5, which means our evilest of evil is going, in fact, to the evil twin. There it is.
Rate that thing.
Now,
yeah,
I know it would beat that.
Okay.
I know it would beat that.
Okay, what's that?
If we could have a combination of two others. If we could have Evel Knievel, I'm telling you, Evel Knievel would be 10 out of 10. I'm just saying.
10 out of 10 with the little cape.
Evel Knievel, I'm telling you.
It has to be a thing. So surely someone has thought of this already, right? Just get like a weevil farm or something. Just put them on a little bike and put them over the jump.
Little bikes. You find them jumping ramps in your rice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they jump from box to box in order to infest. Yep. There you go. Okay. Well, how about that, guys?
There's one in every whatever you call a group of weevils.
Whatever you call a group
infestation. There's always one in every infestation.
Yep. A hasta la pasta of weevils. How about that? There you go.
I mean. This was better than I thought it was going to be honest with you. This was great.
It's so subjective, like it's super fun. But yeah, that's our first edition here on QTB of Rate That Thing. There you go. All right. We did it.
I feel like the Weevil's the honorary mascot of QTB now. I really do. Like,
yeah, I mean, if Greg and Kevin weren't already, Greg is one of our resident ducks there on stream, and Kevin,
True.
of course, the bird. So, I mean, we've got room for a Weevil. We don't have any insects for our animal crew. So, sure.
We have our arc. We have our ship. Okay. It's QTB's arc. Okay.
We do.
We've got room for a couple Weevils. So.
We've got lore for days. Yeah, that's for sure. We've got lore. Oh, man. Well, speaking of lore and a lack thereof, we're going to be getting into our next story here very soon. But first, of course, I want to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors over at Winner Winner Live Arcade. And I got to tell you, Winner Winner Live Arcade is one of the best places to get live claw machines. And of course, mobile games, you name it. Check them out, guys, if you haven't already, because it is a ton of fun. You get to play for all sorts of different prizes, and you can even exchange your prizes for tickets, which you can then pick up over at the winner's circle to claim for all sorts of, plushies or even electronics, you name it. You can add up those tickets and save them up with the digital games as you go.
I just got my headphone stand. I got an amazing headphone stand that's got charged USB ports and chargers on it, and my nice headphones get to rest on that when I'm not podcasting.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Only exclusively via the Winner Winner app. So
there you
I just
go.
Have to say.
Yeah. I got my little phone case too. My little phone standy here. I got on Winner Winner. So there you go. It's very practical. I love it. But thanks as always to our friends over at Winner Winner Live Arcade. You can check them out. The link is in our bio or description if you're watching this or listening to this after the fact. Well, getting into our big story here for the week, and I got to tell you, you know.
I was going to ask you, Nick, you got an extra 23 grand laying around somewhere?
You would need 23 grand and a lot of free time, because our story for today is coming from IGN, but really YouTube as well, because this is talking about a YouTuber by the name of Gerard, who is known as the Completionist. So this is about what's going on basically right now with the Wii U and 3DS shop. So to get everybody up to speed, the Wii U and 3DS eShops are going to be closing on March 25th. As of this recording, only 4 days away. And we've had some warning about this for a while. I think they announced like mid to late last year that this would be coming. But with it comes a lot of concerns about game preservation, but specifically an interesting thing happened where I guess, Gerard said, hey, I'm going to do a ridiculous thing. He's the completionist, right? He's known for 100% in games, no matter how hard they are, and recording content based on that. But also in this case, he said, you know what? I'm going to download and buy every single thing for the Wii U and the 3DS eShops. And as you said, he spent a staggering how much, Brad?
We need statistics here. So we not only need to break down the cost, but we need to break down the amount of games, the storage required. I mean, we got to give a full metric breakdown. But yeah, to start off, $23,000 to buy every Wii U and 3DS eShop game before this shuts down on the 25th. But let's just let that sink in, Nick. Can you break it down? Can you tell them what that actually pans out to in terms of how many Wii U games, how many 3DS games? I mean, give them the staggering numbers. What are they? It's
crazy. Like, I mean, when you actually go into this story, and they kind of break down some of the details about like how this plays out, it works out to a total of over $22,000. So he had to spend almost $10,000 for 866 Wii U games and $13,000 and change for 1,547 3DS games. And that included like the DSiWare, which were like apps that weren't necessarily games, the virtual console games, DLC for titles. Now, his mindset was that he had to get everything that was not a physical or had a physical version, right? So the eShop stuff strictly. And that, if anything, that kind of sheds a light on the staggering number of games that you could only get.
That's insane.
Yeah.
1,500 3DS games? I had no idea. No idea.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very robust console. And I mean, you can see here where it has double the number of digital-only Wii U titles. Yeah.
So Nintendo, when are we getting that backwards compatibility on the Switch? Just throwing that out there.
Just saying, right? Like, and what got crazy about this was like the logistics behind it. So basically, what he had to do was, because you could only store like a very finite number of things on the internal memory. of these two devices. So the first thing he had to do was figure out, okay, how am I going to actually get enough funding to do this? Because if you use your credit card over and over and over again, they're going to flag it, shut it down. They're never going to let you do it. So he had to go to like him and his team had to go to like a dozen different places or more to get as many Nintendo eShop gift cards as they would let him buy with cash. And then went through the process of redeeming them one by one. You can only have like a max of $200 in your wallet. So that was another hurdle they had to jump through. Download these games individually, like go through the whole purchase process. And can you imagine the tedium? It took him months.
I mean, this had to be a vision, right? This wasn't something that someone said, "Hey, last week it's going to close in a week. Let's execute." This was a strategic plan with a team, like you said, to orchestrate this and deliver this and the timing of this is perfect. It's right before it closes, and we are now seeing and watching and hearing about how this was done. It's quite a feat, really, when you think about it.
Oh,
I mean,
no
we're talking 1.2 terabytes and of Wii U games, and I think 260 or almost 270 gigs of 3DS games. So, I mean, we're talking significant hardware space too. I mean, like you said, that type of memory can't be stored on some of these devices, right? So they had to figure out creative ways to make this accessible down the line, right?
Yep. Yeah, they had to literally transfer them onto like a ton of different external hardware devices, SD cards, and actual external hard drives for some of these devices.
So I know we've touched on it a bit before, but it's worth just an acknowledgement or a slight point, a revisit here, right? Does this outlandish kind of example of what's been done here again raise awareness about game preservation and digital rights, right? I mean, for listeners who haven't been able to tune into some of our earlier podcast episodes, why don't you give them a flavor of kind of what your perspective is on that?
Yeah, and so I think the move that he made with this kind of shines a light on what's happening. So he's now that he's completed it, right? And it was more for the content for him than, because what are you going to do when you have all these things, right? To actually donate it to the Video Game History Foundation, which is a nonprofit that their whole thing is the preservation of the history of video games, preserving the code, finding a legal way to store everything in a way that allows for future generations to be able to go back and actually get this stuff. Now, a lot of people criticized what he did here because they said, well, you're just doing it for clout or whatever, even though there are a million easier ways to get clout than what. And everyone, his name is
a lot cheaper ways.
Yeah. And Ashley is asking, the YouTuber's name is The Completionist, is his channel. And I mean, it is astounding the work that went into this. But, the idea behind it is this. There are a million ways right now that you can go and get an illegal version of any of these games because the files have been dumped and placed somewhere in a way that isn't legally smiled upon, right? Now, what that doesn't change is that if you want to have a legally obtained way to actually play these games, you've got to play by Nintendo's rules. And Nintendo's rules are get these games from our store by X date, or else you'll never get them again. And it shows the sheer amount of content because, Brad, so many of these games that were on the 3DS or the Wii U eShop, specifically the 3DS, you can't get these games physically. They were never physically released or ported to other consoles. There are great Fire Emblem games. There's countless amounts of DLC that you could only get through the eShop, even if you had the physical title, that people love. And if you have a 3DS and you didn't, you don't make this threshold to purchase and download these games legally on your 3DS, your unmodded 3DS, you won't be able to play them. And so there's two sides to the coin of like, well, yeah, it's great that there's so many people out there that are ripping these games and giving you a way to play them, but it's like we can't necessarily rely on them to be there 5 years, 10 years from now. Whereas when you have this foundation that says we are gonna legally acquire everything so that there is a way to preserve game history down the road, I think there's some nobility to that concept, right?
No, I hear. I mean, it begs the question. What's driving the closure of the storefront for the platforms? Like, I don't see why, if it continues to make money for Nintendo, why? I mean, are we losing? Are these game companies losing sight on, like you said, the preservation of old consoles, of old games, especially, exploring various DLC formats, right? Like, are we losing? Are we going to have gaps in our gaming history when we look back on this and say things were closed prematurely, right? And are these, what's another way? I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to approach this than just saying, hey, we're shutting down these digital storefronts. These games are going away. I hope Nintendo at least has also got them in their files somewhere that if they want to down the line, they can make it accessible, even though they're not selling it anymore. But I don't know. It seems kind of like a random decision. I don't know what's driving that from a business standpoint for Nintendo.
I'm sure the bean counters just looked at it and said, it's not worthwhile to keep the lights on. But like, here's the thing, like,
how much is it costing them to keep them available for download, though?
It can't be that much. And like, what blows my mind about it, Brad, is, and I'm hoping that like there's enough shareholder influence that like when you have a single YouTuber throwing $22,000 at them to get everything before it shuts down, it's creating kind of a panic, right? Like a lot of people, like I thought about like should I get a 3DS and like get the games I've heard are like must-haves, and there are some on there. But at the same time, it's like I hope they get so much revenue on the next quarterly report from the 3DS and Wii U eShops that their shareholders are like, "What is wrong with you? Go turn those servers back on."
Even if they get like 100 or 1,000 people to do this, right? I mean,
yeah,
you're talking significant coin, right? $23,000 a pop. It's a quick ride up to the millions. So.
You're right. But yeah, Epic Capture also put in a great point there in chat of vintage games are now art. They're not just nostalgia. And that's the right way to view it. Museums more and more are embracing the art form of these games. And look, if you're going to have an art, installation that's going to display something, it better be attained legally, because whether or not it's available, it doesn't change the fact that Nintendo is still going to come knocking when it's legally advantageous for them to do so. But, Brad, you had asked, like, when are these games coming out for the Switch? That's the question, right? The Switch Online, obviously they want to move us into a subscription model, right, to make long-term revenue off of their other classic games. But it's a drip feed. And so far, the most advanced we've gotten is the N64, because you can fit a lot of those games onto a Switch. But, you talk about GameCube games, Wii U games, the size of these games goes up and up and up to the point where, like, is it really practical to have one app that's going to give you access to, 30, 40 GameCube games, for example? So I really do have to wonder if any of these 3DS titles are really going to get justice.
But if Game Pass can do it, why can't Switch Online do it?
Thank you. I don't know. Brad.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to toot Game Pass's horn here, but like,
yeah,
that you're right. This has to be the motive. If they're going to pull them off of the shop, then it's got to be because they're looking to port these or create some way that they're going to be accessible to Switch, and it's going to force people to get on that subscription model and pay monthly or pay yearly to play them. And hey, you know what? I'm here for it. I'm already on board. So if it comes my way, I am more opportunity for me.
There you go. Okay. And Epic Capture says, boom, mic drop. There you go. I mean, look, Brad, if anyone's gonna tell it like it is with Nintendo, it's gonna be Brad. So good job, man.
I do appreciate, though, the attempt here. I think it does raise a little, like you said, awareness. And although somewhat egregious to spend $23,000, I mean, I think, that's it's getting a lot of publicity. I mean, it really is, right? I mean, it's being talked about quite a bit right now. So, I think it warrants this discussion. I think others in the gaming community should really be thinking about now going forward. I mean, look at you. You were on a retro console kind of journey right now. You've acquired a few recently, and that's another part of that is you see the value in reobtaining those older consoles and reliving and having that experience to fall back to in the future. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and the difference is I can do that. Any game that I remember fondly is going to be accessible in a way that I can get. Now, that's not always true. I mean, there were attempts like in the 90s or so to have, digital only. There was some even like weird experiments with like satellite based, like getting the games like downloaded to your to older consoles. Like interesting stuff, and some games were only available that way. But 99.9% of them, I can, if I'm willing to pay the right price, which is usually not true, I can get a an original copy of a lot of these games. The price of retro games, that's a whole different conversation. But I really do feel bad for the gamers of tomorrow that they're going to look back at this and be like, man, the only way that I can play this game is not how I originally remembered it on the hardware and the methodology of playing that I remember. Yeah.
We're going to have a generation of gamers who knows nothing different than just to go to Game Pass or Nintendo Online and pick their game. Mm-hmm. Right, we're gonna lose. The digital movement is eliminating those days of waiting in line at a GameStop or at a Target or at a Walmart to get in and get that out of the 10 hard copies of a game that they got in stock that day, you were one of the ones that got your hands on it, right? And then you got to walk home with it in hand. Or I've got friends and family who are really into the stuff that comes with the game, not just the disc, but like the book and the game art and the instructions. There's developers who spend a lot of time in making those really nice, and those are art as well. They're not just a basic instruction guide. There was some design elements to that to make that feel like a cohesive package, right? So I think there's parts of that. Even the old Nintendo 64 boxes, those things were a piece of art. They weren't small. Yeah. Right. So I think there's something that we lose even in the packaging and the experience of opening a game and pulling it out and sticking it into our console, that now you just click a button and you're in the store, and, microtransactions add up fast.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do add up fast. If only there was a way to get a massive amount of content for a very small price. Oh, wait a second. How about our QTB Patreon? There you go, guys. Thank you so much, as always, to our QTB and Fuego supporters. I'm talking about Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, Caitlin, Courtney, Megan, Ashley, and Andrea, and our QTB Plus supporters, Nick, the Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, Terry the Kitten, and Maddie. If you want exclusive content you can't get anywhere else, like our super exciting Anything Goes podcast, QTB nights, and so much more, including merchandise and even your name on our site for the $5 tier, QTB Plus tier and up. Guys, supporting us on Patreon is the way to do it, right, Brad?
Yeah, and no pun intended here, but it keeps the lights on for our digital storefront and platform. We're not closing shop anytime soon, thanks to you guys. So
we're not delisting. We're not delisting.
No,
the show.
We're not. No.
That's good news. But check it out today. And of course, that QTB and Fuego tier gets you access to exclusive merch that you cannot get anywhere else. So don't miss it. If you want to go there, it's patreon.com/quitthebuild. Again, tiers start as low as $2. The link on TikTok is in our profile. And the link is in the show notes for everyone else. Just check that out. Again, thank you so much for your support. Well, my gosh, Brad, what a fun episode here. I was wondering how our Rate That Thing would go, but congratulations to our Rate That Thing winner of, my gosh, Evil Twins. Who knew Evil Twins could beat out Resident Evil pretty handily, too. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, shout out to Weevils. I'm walking away feeling like Weevils are my thing now. I've got some love for Weevils.
Get for Weevils. Russell's story, if it happened to you, man, that's horror. Horror is opening up a box of pasta, to get dinner ready, and there's an equal amount of shells and Weevils. That's real horror.
I mean,
the devil in your pantry.
That just sounds creepy. Like the more we go down this road, we need to make sure we stop at some point.
The heebie-jeebies. Yep.
But shout out to Weevils, man. Shout out to Weevils. There is a Evel Knievel out there somewhere.
The world's best insect-based stuntsman. I mean, if you can have a flea circus, you better believe there's a Evel Knievel somewhere out there.
Well, that needs to be like a short, an animated short, Evel Knievel. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
You could come up with it, because then you'd have the pole vaulter would be a stick bug, or like a stick. You know what I mean? Like, because it'd be you could have a whole slew of animals at the circus, or bugs at the circus, that would be all themed. I see it now. I'm pitching an idea. Someone at all these animation studios, take note. Make this happen.
Somewhere out there in podcast land, entomologists, it's just like, you know what? They're right. fire up the GoPro, the very tiny GoPro, the Micro Pro. Oh my gosh, Micro GoPro. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun.
Oh man.
All right,
Wow.
well we'll catch you next time here on
It's quickly going off the rails, Nick. Wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
Okay, let's do it. Until next time, everybody. For Brad, I am Nick.
And for Nick, I'm Brad.
Peace out. What it do?
Quit the bill.